Hey there everybody, it's Nathan Cool with nathancoolphoto.com, and in this tutorial I'm going to start a multi-part series of how to edit artistic portraits. Now you might remember some time ago I did a tutorial on how to shoot dramatic one-light portraits, and that's a good basis to get started on that. In fact, up here in the information bar you'll find a link to that video if you haven't seen that yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a shot that I've done of one of the fitness models that I've shot. His name, by the way, is Kalik Shields. He's from Ohio, flies out to Los Angeles every now and then. And we're going to start out with just a simple shot that was this. This is straight out of the camera. And then eventually at the end of this series, the photo is going to look like this. So this first step in this process, this is all done in Photoshop by the way, the first step in this process is to make sure that we have enough of a composition to work with. So when I shoot a lot of these artistic portraits, I'm not shooting an entire scene. Sometimes these photos have to be very large, they have to be blown up to poster size images, sometimes even larger, especially if they're going to be put into video. So what I like to do is shoot very tight. So I might use an 85mm lens, shooting it vertically, as in the first shot as you've seen. That gets me enough of the subject, but I don't have enough background, so it might not be composed, but that's not to worry. We're going to do a technique today. I'm going to show you on how to actually compose that using a content-aware scale, not fill like you might have seen in other videos that I do with real estate photography. You want to see how this first step is done? Let's get started. So here's our shot in Photoshop, and I've already done some touch-up work on this, and I'll do that in another video also to show how to do all the skin touch-ups. But this was taken with just one light. If we zoom in here a little bit, we can see where the light was falling. It made it a lot easier to do this. You can see the reflection of a softbox here in Kalik's sunglasses. Some of that light is hitting the background. So we've got a good amount of light coming across him. But to really edit this is a very tall picture. The composition is okay, but I'd like to compose it a little bit differently. So it's a pretty easy thing to do. Now I'm shooting this against a typical Savage Thunder Gray backdrop. It's one of my favorites to use, and through the other videos I'm going to show you in the tutorial, it's going to become very important that I use this as we do some blending to have different textures and backgrounds and other effects put into it. So it works really well with that. Has a natural vignette placed around it because of the tight fall off of that light like I showed in that previous video. So anyways, let's get started with the editing process. What I always like to do, this is a TIFF, so I'm not using Lightroom. As you know, just like when I do real estate photography for doing exteriors, I like to first make all my adjustments in the OEM software. In this case for Nikon, it's the Capture NXD, and that way I can make all the adjustments knowing how it's going to interpret properly the raw file. Lightroom won't adjust it properly, and neither will Photoshop. So if you want an accurate representation, you first use OEM software and then get a TIFF. So this is a very large file. It is a TIFF. Anyways, once I've brought that TIFF here into Photoshop, I'm going to make a copy of that layer. I'm just going to go Control J. We can hide the other layer if we want to, but what I want to do is now I want to crop it. So I'm going to zoom out just a little bit, select the crop tool, and I want to crop this, let's say, to an 8x10. So up here you can see the ratio is 8x10, 4x5, and to crop this I'm going to go ahead and just start dragging this out, and it'll start locking on the top and the bottom here. Photoshop will automatically do that when it knows the limits. So you're kind of locked right there. But now I have this empty space over here. So what do we do with that? So you might be tempted at first to try to paint something in, but it's not going to catch all the gradient of light, and that will show up later, especially when we get into other process of putting textures. You might think of using a content-aware fill for that, but the problem is it's going to start picking up other things that are very close by. There's something very simple though that you can do that's called content-aware scale. So let's zoom out just one tab to see what that is. I'm going to grab the square marquee tool, should say rectangular marquee tool, and I'm going to select an area of this that I want it to sample from. So I'll just go here, and you can overlap, it's totally fine. And then you go up to Edit, and then Content Aware Scale. Now that tightens up to the edge of what it can actually get, which is the edge of the picture, and now you can take the one side and drag that over as much as you want. I like to drag it a little bit off picture so I get rid of any artifacts it might have picked up along the way. Just hit enter, Control-D to deselect it, and now we're filled. So now we've got what we might consider to be a good composition for what we want to have, and now it's cropped to an 8x10, and I didn't have to worry about having this shot at a wide or too far back to try to crop it down. I have an optimal amount of pixels to use for that. So that's how you do a content-aware scale. If you zoom in though, you might see a few little artifacts, little streaky stuff, and that's going to show up more when we start adding textures, and we're going to get to that in the next tutorial. So content-aware scale is something that you can use for a lot of different things, all kinds of different portraits, whatever you want to do to extend the background. It's the idea here that you want to be able to have a lot of pixels. So in the case especially of doing portraits for advertisements, for commercial work, it's not like shooting real estate where on the MLS, you can crop things down, you're not too worried about maximum size. But when you really have to get something big, especially when you're submitting to magazines, or like I said, it's going to be used in video or elsewhere in the commercial world, you want to be able to have that. You're not shooting medium format, you can get kind of a medium format type of effect by doing this. Anyways, that's the first step in our process, and I want to guide you through some other stuff as well that would get us through that entire editing phase. Okay, so we'll worry about skin touch-ups and a few of those things in other videos, but right now, the next video that will be coming out will then show us how to start adding some textures to this so that we can overcome, one, some of those streaks that will show up from doing the content-aware scale, but also add a lot of punch to it. Another video beyond that's then going to show some other special effects we're going to add to make this really an impactful, powerful, artistic portrait. Anyways, I hope you liked this video, and I hope you stay tuned to the next one in line in this series. To stay tuned, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. It won't cost you anything, and as soon as one of these videos is posted, you'll be the first to know. Thanks a lot for watching. Until next time, take care, be safe, and get out there and shoot something.